Call the meeting to order at 6:06. Approval of the minutes of the October 1st, 2019.
You can't motion, I'll motion. Approve the minutes for last meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Organization representatives, town officials, community members. You guys have any questions?
Well, probably not till after.
Yep.
Gives us-
So I'll give you an update of where I am with the dog park. I have been doing research on some pieces of land. I've been up looking around 138. There was some town land, but unfortunately that was up there is all conservation land. There's nothing, unfortunately, we can do up there. It was a big parcel of land. I went up there, spoke to conservation, and unfortunately right there, there's nothing we can do for a dog park there. So I have been researching across town. I've looked across the street. I've looked in the center part of Raynham, and unfortunately, everything that's come up so far that is town-owned that I've been finding is owned by, is conservation, excuse me. So unfortunately, right now, there's nothing really new I can give you from our last meeting, in the last couple of meetings. Right now, we're kind of as Chris said in our last meeting, a standstill. I am researching, trying to find other pieces of land in town, but right now I have come up empty.
How often does conservation land get revisited?
Could you just give us your name and address?
Valerie Alfonso, 93 Pine Tree Lane,
Sorry, the number?
93.
That's something I am not sure about. I can check with conservation to see how long that, how often they do revisit that issue. But I can gladly look into that and send you an email regarding that question.
Okay.
Is there a chance you don't do a dog park at all? Sorry, Sharon Johnson, 30 Country Lane.
There's always that possibility.
There's always
Yeah.
a possibility of anything, but.
It just feels like there's not any other options for us, you know?
Mhm.
Or-
I mean, right now, it's definitely still, everything is on the table, so to speak. I am doing the best I can to look around to see what else is out there.
Mhm.
Right now, as I said, I've come up empty, but doesn't mean I'm gonna stop. It's a task that's been put before me, and I'm gonna keep doing the best I can to try to see what land is out there.
Mhm. I just want to point out that, now starting, a few weeks ago, all the way till May now, there's no, buffer at all for us. The leaves are down. I live in the first house next to the cemetery. I don't have a very deep yard, and it's right there, so I do feel like it does affect the neighbors. And that's, 6 or 7 months a year. And it's not, temporary, it's permanent
Yep.
forever, so I feel like it's a lot to ask the neighbors to accept that forever,
That's
you know? If it was like a summer or a couple months, or, because we've had that off and on. I don't have any problem with softball or other things that are going on in that field,
Mhm.
but nothing's all day, every day, 7 days a week, all year round. So I feel like that's the difference for us.
Is there any other questions I can answer at this time?
Yeah, Randy Quast, 120 Pine Tree Lane. I've got, I guess, two main questions. Number one question was, way back when this all started, the question was asked, what is the appeals process? And the only thing I kept hearing back is, well, we don't know yet. Has anyone looked into that?
Well, unfortunately, there's no real appeal process yet because I haven't found the land yet.
Yes, but, so supposing you don't find land, boom, we're putting it here, here's a dog. What's the appeals? What's by the bylaws or whatever by the town? Is there?
I mean, that's something that you would have to approach I believe, the town board of appeals to look at,
Oh, okay.
the issues, because that's something that, I can't tell you, it's something that,
Yeah, I thought someone here was gonna look into what it involves.
I mean, I can look
Oh,
into that some more and.
It takes a meeting and it takes a vote of this and that, or a petition or whatever, bylaws. I'm sure there's something in a bylaw somewhere that spells out what you need to do, I would think. The other question is, do you suppose maybe we should start looking into getting a half an acre from these conservation places somewhere? Is this conservation land? Because when you, the square footage of the park that you drew up for your plan there, it's hardly a half an acre of land
Mhm.
that we're looking at. And I can't believe of all the tracts of land in Borden County, I just find it hard to believe that we can't carve out 18,000 square feet somewhere. Whether it's where you don't want dogs, then put a fenced walkway, walk your dogs through this fence to get to it, or whatever it takes.
I mean, that's something that can definitely look into.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back to conservation and see if they have any particular recommendations of some of the land, but it's a matter of, what would have to get done, I'd have to go step by step with conservation to make sure that we're not infringing on, we get to upland so where it can work, how we cut across that land and what would need to get done, how much fill we would need, things like that, to make sure that we're doing everything in the right process.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you'd have to cut across any, because you say you own all the other land where
The town does, but it's a matter of figuring out, is that an ideal spot to put the dog park? That basically, is it a good spot to have it? Like how close to the road, how much we really need to cut into for parking,
Well,
things like that.
That's what we're saying here, is this a good spot to have it?
Mhm.
And-
So that's a no argument, that's no void, that one there. That's gotta be, as far as we're concerned, that's a way better spot. So, it depends on your point of view, I suppose.
No,
on
I
that.
understand.
And Tim, what's to say if you found a parcel of land that those neighbors aren't gonna have the same opposition as we do?
Well, again, we would do the same thing we did with this other one. We would do another community presentation. I would bring it forth to see, thoughts, concerns for the community, and I would go from there. With the talk of the board, we have to figure, what is it best to put it there and move forward? I mean, because we want feedback. I want this to be, if we do have a dog park in town, I want the community involved. And that's why we like the dialogue. We want to make sure that we're looking at trying to do what's best, the best we can do. That's what I'm trying to say. Trying to say, I'm doing the best I can to try to figure this out.
All those,
I'm sorry, even if it winds up costing the town money, perhaps, there might be other solutions. Maybe we have to buy a half an acre of land somewhere to do this. Or maybe we have to rent some of the conservation land or whatever. See, I guess, from the beginning, when I first heard dog park, I'm thinking of like where I used to walk my German Shepherd, East Bridgewater. There's woods, there's paths, there's a pond. And you just go out through the woods, through these paths, and you have a good old time. I didn't realize it was just gonna be a fenced-in, leashless toilet for the dogs. And it's just kind of a whole different concept to me. It's like, they get together, they bark at each other, they do their thing. And, I understand if some people don't have a place, like a good enough a big enough backyard, then, well, okay, then we'll use the community backyard. So I kind of get that, but, yeah, I would think that you want something where you can let the dog run and have a good time, go swimming in a pond and things like that. That's like, I couldn't
Less
figure
than
that out.
2 miles away is Massasoit State Park.
That's
where
right.
People can bring their dogs, and it has everything he's talking about.
Yep.
That's right.
It's completely different.
Yeah.
It's completely different.
You go to, I walk my dog at Massasoit, it's gotta be on a leash,
Mhm.
can't leave it, you can't
Yeah.
take it off leash, and, dog park's a different concept for animals.
It's more of a
Yes.
gathering,
Yes.
You know, I've taken my dogs up to Raynham, up to the, they have a dog park up there. It's not quite as extravagant as what we're talking about. It's just an open area separated for bigger dogs and younger dogs. It's just a different concept than just regular walking through Massasoit.
I guess to dovetail what I was just saying, is there any way you can work out a deal with some of the conservation land to have some paths that people can walk their dogs on out through there? Because that's another avenue we could pursue. Work that out with the state. They would love it. An election coming up. Hey, guess what we just did? You know, we did nice things for these people and their dogs.
I mean, it's something that I can definitely look into.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really harming the land, other than it's gonna wear a path in it that'll grow in as soon as you don't walk on it.
Yeah, I don't really know a lot about conservation land, but
I don't either.
I do know that they're very strict about it, and I don't think you can develop it at all.
No,
So I
it's,
don't even know, you know, even putting a path to get to an area through a conservation, I don't think you, if you would, it would probably have to be elevated.
it would have to be elevated, have to go probably through the boarding zone,
Yeah,
zone
so
of
it's a little-
appeals, and
It's a bigger,
yeah, it's a big process.
At Borden Colony, is there no land available, or is it about, you know, there being fields there and no dog signs?
No, it's, actually, we have used up all the recreation space that we have.
Mhm.
You know, between the 4 soccer fields we have baseball, Babe Ruth-sized baseball field, we have the Clark softball field, and a few other areas where we have the horse ring, things like that. That is our area of land for recreation. Everything else beyond that is part of the conservation land, that agricultural, that we are not allowed to touch as part of the lease that we've had with the state going back since it was actually purchased by the town years ago.
So if you look at where the horse corral is there,
Yes, sir.
from the road, look at that, and now, right to your left of that, there's a little patch of green grass, there's a tractor and a few implements parked there now.
Yep, and the reason they're there is part of the lease that we have is we have to make sure that we cut the field every year. So it stays as conservation, doesn't
so it
turn
doesn't
into
become
wetlands.
wetlands, it
Yes.
doesn't become conservation.
Yeah,
So that whole area down there where the band shell is and all that, that's all part of the conservation land?
the band shell. You mean the gazebo?
Gazebo.
Whatever it
Yeah,
is.
that part of the gazebo, where the gazebo is right there,
Yes.
that's part of the recreation land right
Yes.
there. Yep, and so,
That's used for when the
Yeah, they park-
Gymkhana building has a big event, all the horses are out there with their
Yeah.
trailers, and we have concerts. At the gazebo, it's for picnic areas and to put your chairs. The Indians usually once a year have a powwow there.
Yeah, you mentioned a few weddings.
Weddings,
Yep.
yeah,
and it's
So-
also where Raynham Pride Day is as well.
and Pride Day
Yes.
too.
Yes.
You know, a ton of other stuff.
I guess I'm just looking at that piece of land right where those tractors and things are parked there. Is that conservation land or is that town land?
That is town land, but it's used for, but that's all part of the agricultural land that we cannot touch. It's outside the boundary.
And I'm confused on that. No, so that's conservation
It's-
land,
No,
Agricultural land,
agricultural land.
yes.
Because I'm just thinking where that gazebo is, you got this straight path. And then where that horse corral is, there's kind of like a little indent in there. And it looks more than enough room for 18,000 square feet. And that's, every time I drive by that, every Saturday going to the dump, I look at that and say, that's the spot right there. It's out of the way, there's plenty of parking, everybody knows where it is, it's the community center, so to say, of what's going on. It just seems pretty ideal to me. And that looks like that would not get in the way of any of the events happening at the gazebo, because that's kind of pushed off to the right a little bit.
So just so I make sure that I'm clear on the area you're speaking about, so we have the horse ring. You talking about that area right behind the horse ring and to the left, facing it?
To the left, yeah.
Because the way that goes around on the deed is eventually, once you get back a little bit beyond, all that is part of the agricultural land that we cannot touch. It's kind of invisible line back there that shows what is
That-
agricultural.
Where the green mowed grass is, that's conservation land.
Where the green mowed grass is, that right there, you know, trying to picture where the map is in my head, I do apologize.
Yes.
But back there, they go up until their area where we can cut, that's part of recreation. But once we get to that area, that's also used, again, going back to people use for the horse ring, and
So you might have to shut it down for the dogs for 2-3 weeks a year, or a weekend here or there.
It's not feasible,
No?
because we want to leave it open and available at all times for other activities.
Well,
I'm looking at the map here, and all the land that you're talking about, that's all the land that we use for those activities I just spoke about, and right beyond the horse ring is agricultural.
Yeah, I know, to me, it looks like the boundary where it's, and some of it's even got a fence.
Yeah, there's
I
a
guess-
swale there too, so.
I guess I'm just looking for some sort of a compromise, because we're kind of at a, somewhat
Like
of a
there's not a
stalemate.
half acre.
Yeah, and it's like, it's not even a half acre, it's half of, you know, it's 18,000 square feet or whatever the thing came up with there. And I can't believe that you can't carve out a piece of that there. That, and, you know, when the horses are there, all the dogs, that's, okay, so we're gonna have to compromise a little bit. Don't bring your dogs this weekend, there's a wedding. Or don't bring your dogs, next Sunday, there's an event. It's more than what you've got now.
Yeah, it's really not that, it's really not
So
feasible.
the temple doesn't use this area anymore? 'Cause
I'm sorry?
The temple doesn't use this area anymore?
They just use their, the temple
Okay,
across
because
from
they were using this for
They
a
do
while.
park
Yes, they
there.
were.
Oh, yeah.
I know, but they
Yeah.
do park here,
They park
yeah.
there.
So that will I mean, again, the temple parks.
The temple still parks here?
They
Sure,
park there.
Sure,
Yeah.
Yeah, when they have events,
I know,
just recently.
I know.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
they
well, 2 weeks
walk
ago.
right across my lawn
So,
to get to.
I was gonna say, you know,
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're unaware of that.
All right, I'm Melinda Castle. I live at 333 South Street East, right next door. And what about the land, all right, go past that, where all your soccer fields are,
Mhm.
go up the hill,
Yep.
okay? And on the right, there's land where people are plotting they have their little plots of grass. Isn't there, who owns that? Does the town own that?
garden?
It's
It's
a
a-
garden?
Huh?
The town garden, the community gardens,
Yeah,
that's for community gardens.
okay, but what about behind that?
That's
Farther
all,
back.
that's all rented by Olson. That's Olson's greenhouse. Olson's greenhouse has leased all that land for their mum project. They have, I don't know when their lease is up, but
Okay, but it's something you might want to keep in mind, and next time you lease. to
we
let
can't,
it
we
out.
can't do, it's all agricultural.
Oh, I
Can't,
see.
can't do anything recreational.
What about behind Stop and Shop? There used to be a gentleman who used to farm.
Oh,
Have
yes.
a little farm there.
Yep.
And he doesn't do it anymore, but there's a little cemetery, and I've seen somebody mow that lawn.
Do you mean the one behind Shaw's? Is my thing?
Well,
I think
it's,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
well, maybe
where-
yeah, I think it's behind
Oh,
Shaw's.
behind Shaw's,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, yeah,
where you come out right.
Yeah, you come out in the back.
yeah.
What about that area? It's,
Town doesn't own that.
well, if you're looking for, some half an acre of land, maybe that's something that can be leased for the dog park. Nobody's using it. I see somebody mowing to the right side by the cemetery. Who mows up to the cemetery? Who owns the cemetery there?
I'm not familiar with the cemetery.
It's in the back barn, the farm stand. It's a
I'll have to
little.
look at,
I mean, that's just an option that I'm seeing.
Yeah,
It's it's land. It doesn't look like it's going to bother anybody because people are going to.
It's not part of our project right now to
Mm-hmm.
find land to purchase. We're trying to find land the town already owns. The money that, I mean, it's really, yeah, I don't know whose property that
What about all these people who wanted the dog park? Do they have any land available that they want it in their backyard?
Yeah,
We're out
it's a Very valid question.
I don't see anybody here that, you know, is for the dog park. I haven't seen them at any meetings.
Well, because they support it, I guess. I mean, I don't, you know, if anything. This is still, you know, a project that we're,
I guess,
chasing, but it's not, right now, it's at a standstill. It's kind of like we've got other things that have prioritized over that, so, but it's not, you know, it's not a dead issue, but we certainly recognize everybody's complaints. We understand that you're concerned about NIMBY, you don't want it in your backyard. We took that into consideration the first time that we met with you folks, and you know, and at that point, we stopped what we were doing because of your presence and your concerns. The whatabouts and the what-ifs, we could talk for hours about them. But right now, the project is at a standstill. We are not really, we're not aggressively trying to get this project completed right away. We're going to take a slow, methodical, we're going to use a slow, methodical process to make sure that when we do it, it's done correctly so that we don't have concerned citizens that, you know, that are affected by it. We don't have, that's the biggest issue is, you know, the neighborhood, whatever neighborhood it is.
And I guess
we don't
our
want to make sure
concern-
it's not affecting anybody.
and I guess our concern is, you know, if, you know, you guys haven't found anything or, you know, aren't willing to purchase anything or lease anything, you know, that it's just going to be dumped in our backyard.
Again, we recognize your neighborhood's concerns. We stopped the project after we recognized those concerns. I don't see it in this backyard here.
And I guess that's the first time we've heard that you say
Yes.
you
Yeah, you-
stopped the project.
Yeah, that
Yes.
was the first
Y-
one.
You know,
It's not stopped, well, it's stopped, yeah, it's stopped right now. I mean, we're looking at things, but until we find the land, the project isn't gonna move forward. I don't know how else to send the message that, you know, because of your concerns, the project has come to the project here, okay? The project here has come to a stop. We're looking at other areas. We certainly don't want to put it anywhere where it's going to affect anybody.
Mhm.
You know, your concerns are valid, and we've heard them multiple times, and we know you don't want it here. We're not going to do something as a commission and as a town that's going to, you know, make people angry. That's not our purpose, you know. What we want for the community to be happy with whatever projects we do.
But I know you can understand our concern was we had no idea that this was going on. You know, no idea whatsoever until Kevin came along the street and told us about it.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate, but, I mean, it's not something that we haven't, I mean, we talk about it at our meetings, it's in our meeting minutes, we've been doing, I don't even know when we started to address it.
It was well before I came on board.
It was before you came.
I think it was 2017, as far as I read back in the minutes, that's when it was brought up,
Yeah.
2017.
Yep, it was a big issue on Facebook for a while, so it grabbed the attention of the commission at that time, and we felt it our responsibility as a recreation commission to try to address the concerns of the other citizens of the town that need and want a place to recreate their animals, their dogs. So, having said that, I don't know if there's anything else.
No, but I just, I think I'll ask my husband about the conservation, because I know he's been involved in that. I just don't know how long does conservation land stay conservation land?
I don't ever
You know?
think it reverses. Conservation is conservation,
Yeah.
particularly because it's wet,
Yes.
right? to my understanding.
The way I've always read it, and, you know, living in a home that had conservation on the land, I know for a fact, I couldn't touch it.
Mhm.
You know, no matter what I did, and there was always people coming, you know, by to make sure I wasn't going to do anything on
Can't
that
even
property.
limb branches. And agricultural land is extremely hard to break. And if you look at the history of voting colony, how long they fought to try and just get that piece just for some recreational fields, that's another big.
I mean, we cut a lot of those fields that are not being used so they don't become conservation land. So we can still have it as agricultural. So we pay, you know.
We have a lease with Tony and
Yeah, Tony Arruda actually is doing it now as a part of his lease, but in the past, we've paid companies to come in and cut those acres for, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars to make sure that they maintain agricultural and they don't become conservation. Once they become conservation, you can't do anything with it. If it's agricultural, it's there for someday. Some farmer might want to come in there and grow something. And we want to make sure that that land remains agricultural and it stays open. But
Thank you.
Thank you.
happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, same to
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
All the best.
We don't have to bring Christmas cookies next time, do we?
Might help.
I took that ethics test. I don't. It's under $40.
It's
So.
under 50. Oh, you're good. It's under
$50. Yeah.
All right, old business, Dog Park, we'll check that off real quick. Edgewood Club update?
Edgewood, I did speak to the board again, and for now, they want to keep things the way they are. They're going to try another year of running the club their way, and something we may revisit next fall again, but for now, they want to try do their thing, so we're not going to be, I'm not going to be pursuing that at this time.
It was fun to think about.
No, I actually thought, you know, there were a lot of positives to it. I actually contacted a few directors around in other communities, you know, getting thoughts, getting their opinions on what it would take. You know, got the positives, got the negatives, but a lot of positives, you know, if we ever do go down that avenue in the future.
New business, Lions Club one-day liquor license request.
Yep, we have it's coming up real soon, next Saturday, November 16th. They are going to be doing a fundraiser to support two families dealing with cancer from 7 to 11:30, and they're asking for a one-day liquor license.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Commissioners' reports, Mr. Shaw.
Top of my head. Nothing.
Mr. Brown.
The state forest on Lotus. Now, is there a plan where they're gonna regularly maintain that, or is it just?
That's something we go out there every winter and try to clean things up.
All right.
At the last meeting, we talked about how they
There's a new neighborhood there.
Well, I saw that.
Yeah,
They-
so we haven't pursued anything. We said to hold off a little bit, but if we have to, Norm knew it was gone anyway because he was out there doing some work. So we're gonna try to maybe talk to the state before we do anything out there anyway. Part of the thing, but we may have to put up a new berm.
Move that trail.
Yeah,
or-
over there. So
I just said no after that last storm. It was
Yeah.
like a lot of
Oh,
times.
yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, after that wind,
Yeah.
yeah, I bet.
Yeah, well, we don't make it down.
yeah, so it's usually something they do in the winter when
We
they
don't
think.
make it, you know what we do?
I do, yeah.
Oh,
What's a will?
heart attack.
It's a tree,
A dead tree.
dead tree.
It could be a lot of things.
It
Oh, yeah,
could be.
it could be.
I didn't know that tree was a will.
Excuse me?
Hello?
He's up there. Do you guys have the key to the kitchen?
I apologize, I do not. Mike Halen, who is in charge of the building, should be in his office right over
Okay,
there.
sorry to bother you.
No worries.
What's for dinner?
I'll take a key to the kitchen, though. You
Yeah, I
find
know. That wasn't my report, was it?
it. All right. Yeah, I
What
had
did you do in my
nothing.
neighborhood after this call? You didn't call me. Ask for permission, first of all, and second of all, maybe I would like to
I'm
run my
going,
dog.
let's go down there. Go down there on
All you gotta do is beep.
Saturday or Sunday.
I'll come running up.
I'm buying. Help break leaves or
You can go on my blower.
something.
Counter offer. Staff reports. SJ?
I have nothing.
Nothing.
Just a couple of things. As I emailed you yesterday, the Triple E ban has been officially lifted. So fortunately, all the seasons are over at this time. But there's the last weekend of soccer coming up, and of course, the Raynham Giants are hosting the Super Bowl this Sunday coming up. With the cold temperatures coming in later on this week, we did shut down today all the water at Boarding Colony. So Jim kind of water we had to shut down. We don't want to risk anything freezing and bursting on us, so we did go from there. Excuse me. I met with Bob Pacheco. He's the new head of facilities for the schools, and we are going to be making a change this year to summer camp. They requested that we move from RMS back to the Liberty because it takes a longer time to get RMS ready. I'm actually in favor of it because I think there's more for the kids to do outside. We got the fields,
Got a
Got a
nice
playground.
playground, you get that shade structure.
yes. So I think it's a positive
Why
development.
did we go to RMS originally?
Uh,
It was something, I think we
The
were
roof.
doing,
They're working on the roof at the
yeah,
time.
and we never went back.
Yeah.
That's weird.
I mean, we already have the daycare room there, and we can use the gym, we can use the cafeteria. So
Yeah, I think it's just more appropriate.
yeah. And the other thing is that in there, we're going back and forth. Is just to make you aware, it's not official yet, but they may ask us to finish a week earlier than we normally have, due to the fact that they want to make sure they have extra time to get all the buildings ready. So that's something that we're still talking about, but just to make you aware in case any rumors pop up around town. Nothing's official yet, but just to keep you going on that one. We have our new date for the Monty meeting again. It's November 20th at 6 o'clock. We had our the Lion King trip on the 20th. Everybody had a blast. It went well. And we still have some tickets available for White Christmas and the Holiday Pops, which will be Holiday Pops is the December 9th. December 8th, the day the Patriots playing the Chiefs, so that's not bad.
To the Patriots game?
The Pops.
No.
And also, White Christmas is on the 29th. We've actually been doing quite a few little mini jobs this month, trying to get them done before the weather changes on us. We had to do some masonry work on the Boarding Colony building. We had a lot of cracks and water coming through, so we had some masonry work done recently, just to seal those cracks on the outside of the soccer stand.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The new granite bench at Johnson's Pond was installed. Came out very nice. They put it, kind of behind the rock. He was a fisherman, so it came out beautiful. Also, the new McKinney sign is up. I'm not sure if you've driven by and noticed. We also raised it up a little bit. It looks basically the same as the old one, just so you can actually read this one from all the wear and tear. And we gave the original sign to the McKinney family.
Oh, nice.
So they were very appreciative. And as I mentioned before, we got here, the new flagpole at the football field is up. It looks great, 25 feet high. And it's between the scoreboard and the goalposts.
Where'd you get it? Rockwell?
No, I actually got another company out of Mattapoisett.
Really?
Yeah, they both came, and I went out for, get numbers.
Yeah.
They got back to me faster. By the time I heard back from the other one, I already was ready to place the order. It took, they were the same price, just the other one took 2 weeks to get me an answer back for a price. But, it's, if you're familiar, it's right down Route 6. Route 6? Yeah, Route 6 down in Mattapoisett, this company. And also, the work on Field 4 has begun. They should be done by the end of the week, converting that field, so it's converting the field for 50-70 and 46-60. So they're doing a nice job there. Finally, just a couple of clean up things. We had our Halloween party on October 25th. We had approximately 125 kids, so it went well. But, you know, talking with Heather that night, we're possibly looking at maybe changing things up next year, maybe try a trunk or treat, do something different. I guess we've been doing it now for almost 12, 13 years, so see what else we can do. And we have the Christmas tree lighting for December 7th. And one thing I would like to bring up, and as I mentioned last meeting, I won't be there. I have unfortunately I won't be there. I do have a wedding to attend. Friend Jenny Cole's getting married, so I'll be at her wedding that night. I'll let her know. I would like to recognize a close friend of mine who did a lot of work for Raynham Soccer. Scott Dolan passed away last week. And, you know, he's done a lot over the years for Raynham Soccer and everything, so I'd just like to recognize him for everything he's done for the town over the years. And, yeah, cancer, he got diagnosed in August of last year, and it really beat him down. But he fought tough, he really did. And finally, just like to wish everybody happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Yep.
I'm not gonna, I'll accept your wish for me to have a happy Thanksgiving, but it's just too fast. It's time going. I don't
It's a
wanna-
blink of an eye.
I don't want to acknowledge the holidays are right around the corner.
I'm with you.
Same to you.
Yeah.
You and your family.
And that is it for me.
Well, now, I've driven by and I'm just lazy, I haven't stopped to look. But did the fence get replaced at the Griffith Field?
We didn't get the bids in time, but we did replace a small fence, as I mentioned in our last meeting, behind the soccer stand. The old one fell down.
Yeah.
We did replace that one as well.
Okay. I went by at the posted speed limit and it just looked like,
Yeah, no,
it looked like it had been replaced, but.
that's on the agenda for next year.
Okay,
Get that replaced, because that has to-
okay, I misunderstood.
Chris, you missed your staff report.
That wasn't
You're
a
late.
report, it was a question.
All right. Good enough.
I don't want to go
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
6:44.
Wow,
All in favor?
that's
Aye.
amazing, all right.